Ladies and gentlemen, life unfolds in ways that are often beyond our control. We make plans, we invest our emotions, and we place our hopes in certain people, believing that our efforts will shape the outcomes we desire. But the reality is, no matter how much we want something, there are moments when we must face the truth. Not everything is meant to be. This is especially true when someone we love chooses to walk away. It can feel like a deep betrayal, an injustice, or even a failure on our part. But in these moments, the most powerful thing we can do is accept rather than resist. Resistance comes naturally. It is the first instinct when we feel loss approaching. Our minds scramble for solutions, for reasons, for ways to turn back time and make things as they once were. We replay conversations, analyze actions, and wonder if we could have done something differently. The problem with this way of thinking is that it keeps us trapped in a loop of suffering. We are fighting against reality, refusing to acknowledge what has already happened, and in doing so, we only prolong our pain. Acceptance, on the other hand, is an act of power. It is not about giving up or showing weakness. Rather, it is about embracing reality with a clear mind and an open heart. When we accept that someone has chosen another path, we free ourselves from the burden of trying to change what cannot be changed. We stop carrying the unnecessary weight of regret and what-ifs. Instead of resisting the truth, we embrace it, and in doing so, we find clarity. There is a deep peace that comes with acceptance. It does not mean the pain disappears immediately, nor does it mean that we stop caring. But it allows us to move forward with dignity rather than being consumed by resentment. It shifts our focus from what is lost to what still remains within us. There is strength in realizing that we do not need to hold on to someone who does not wish to stay. There is wisdom in understanding that people will make their own choices, and those choices are not always a reflection of our worth. When we resist what is, we are in a constant state of struggle. Our minds are filled with thoughts of injustice, of anger, of wanting things to be different. But life does not bend to our will simply because we wish it so. If someone has chosen to leave, if circumstances have changed, then resisting those facts only leads to exhaustion. We end up fighting battles that cannot be won. It is like trying to stop the tide from coming in. It is a futile effort, one that drains our energy and keeps us stuck in place. Acceptance is a release. It is the moment we stop arguing with reality and start working with it instead. It is the shift from focusing on what is gone to focusing on what we can build from here. When we accept, we give ourselves permission to heal. We allow ourselves to redirect our energy towards something productive, something meaningful. We step out of the prison of our own thoughts and into a world where new opportunities exist. Many people fear acceptance because they believe it means they are weak, that they are allowing others to dictate their fate. But true strength is found in facing reality without flinching. It takes courage to acknowledge that something has ended. It takes wisdom to understand that holding on will only bring more suffering. And it takes resilience to stand tall and move forward, even when it hurts. A strong mind understands that not everything is within its control, and that is okay. The world does not operate according to our desires, and people are free to make their own decisions. When we accept this, we liberate ourselves from the false belief that we must fight for everything to go our way. We stop seeing loss as a personal failure and start seeing it as part of the natural flow of life. The beauty of acceptance is that it clears the path for growth. When we stop resisting, we start learning. We gain insight into ourselves, into others, into the nature of relationships. We develop a deeper understanding of impermanence, of the way life constantly changes. And instead of being bitter, we become wiser. Instead of being stuck in the past, we become ready for the future. If she chooses another man, let her go, not in anger, not in desperation, but in quiet confidence. Because in that act of acceptance, you reclaim your power. You choose peace over turmoil, wisdom over resistance, and self-respect over desperation. You let go, not because you have lost, but because you have won something greater, control over your own mind and emotions. And that, in itself, is the ultimate victory. It is easy to believe that when someone walks away from us, it is a reflection of our worth. We question ourselves, wondering what we lacked, what we could have done differently, or whether we were simply not enough. This is a dangerous mindset, one that places our self-worth in the hands of others, making it dependent on external validation. But the truth is, no one's decision to leave, betray, or replace us has any power over our intrinsic value. Who we are is not defined by who stays or who goes. People make choices based on their own perspectives, desires, and circumstances. Their decisions are not always logical, fair, or even well thought out. Sometimes they leave because they are searching for something different, not necessarily something better. Sometimes they walk away because of their own insecurities or fears, not because of a deficiency in us. And sometimes they are simply unable to see the value we bring to the table. None of this has anything to do with how worthy we are. When we tie our self-worth to another person's actions, we give them control over our emotions and self-perception. We allow their choices to dictate how we feel about ourselves, creating a fragile sense of identity that is constantly at risk. But value is not something that fluctuates based on how others treat us. A diamond remains valuable even if someone fails to recognize its worth. A masterpiece remains priceless even if someone walks past it without appreciation. In the same way, your value does not diminish just because someone fails to see it. One of the biggest mistakes we make is internalizing rejection as a statement about who we are. Rejection is not an indictment of our worth. It is simply an indication of incompatibility, timing, or personal preference. Just because someone does not choose you does not mean you are unworthy of being chosen. It does not mean you are lesser, flawed, or lacking in something essential. It simply means that their journey has taken them in a different direction, and that is something we must learn to accept with grace. Self-worth must come from within, not from the approval or presence of others. When we base our value on external factors, such as relationships, status, or recognition, we become vulnerable to emotional instability. We feel validated when things go our way and unworthy when they don't. This is why it is so important to develop an unshakable sense of self, one that remains intact regardless of who comes and goes. There will always be people who do not appreciate what you bring to the table. Some will overlook you, some will take you for granted, and some will walk away as if you never mattered. None of that is a reflection of you, it is a reflection of them. A person's inability to see your worth does not mean it does not exist. It simply means they were not the right person to recognize and appreciate it. It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if only I had been more this or less that, they would have stayed. But love, respect, and loyalty should never be things you have to beg for or mold yourself to fit. The right people will see your value without you having to prove it. They will choose you not because you meet a checklist of expectations, but because they genuinely appreciate who you are at your core. Instead of focusing on why someone left, shift your focus to what remains true: your strengths, your character, and your ability to grow from any experience. You are still the same person you were before they walked away. Capable, deserving, and whole. The only difference is that now you have an opportunity to build a life that is not dependent on anyone else's validation. When we understand that our value is constant, we stop chasing people who do not see it. We stop begging for love that should be freely given. We stop measuring our worth through the eyes of those who do not appreciate us. Instead, we carry ourselves with quiet confidence, knowing that the right people will recognize and cherish what we bring to the world. You are not defined by who stays or who leaves. You are not diminished by rejection, nor are you elevated by validation. Your worth is something that exists within you, unshaken and unwavering. And once you truly understand this, you become untouchable. No loss can break you, no rejection can define you, and no departure can take away what is inherently yours. Life is unpredictable. People change, circumstances shift, and the things we once relied on can disappear without warning. It is natural to feel frustrated when things do not go our way, especially when it comes to relationships. We invest time, emotions, and energy into others, believing that if we give enough, if we love enough, if we prove ourselves enough, they will stay. But no matter how much effort we put in, we cannot control other people's actions, choices, or feelings. The only thing we truly have control over is ourselves. When faced with rejection, betrayal, or disappointment, the instinct is often to react emotionally. We try to change the situation, to make someone see our worth, to argue, to plead, to resist what is happening. But all of these efforts are attempts to control something outside of ourselves, and they rarely lead to peace. Instead, they create more turmoil, more frustration, and more suffering. The more we try to control what is not within our power, the more powerless we feel. Real strength comes from shifting our focus inward. Instead of wasting energy trying to control others, we should direct that energy toward mastering ourselves. This means managing our thoughts, regulating our emotions, and choosing our actions with wisdom rather than impulse. It means recognizing that while we cannot force someone to love us, respect us, or stay with us, we can control how we respond to their choices. We can choose dignity over desperation, self-respect over self-pity, and growth over stagnation. One of the greatest freedoms in life comes from understanding that we are responsible for ourselves. Our happiness, our peace, and our progress are in our own hands. No one else can take control of our lives unless we allow them to. When we base our well-being on the actions of others, we become prisoners of their decisions. But when we realize that our emotions and reactions are within our own power, we become unshakable. Self-control is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that pain does not exist. It is about recognizing that emotions are temporary and that they do not have to dictate our actions. Feeling anger, sadness, or disappointment is natural, but acting out of those emotions often leads to regret. When we control our responses, we reclaim our power. We do not allow someone else's actions to dictate our state of mind. We do not give them the ability to disturb our peace. This mindset applies to every area of life, whether it is a failed relationship, an unfair situation, or an unexpected challenge. Our response determines our experience. Two people can go through the exact same situation, yet one crumbles while the other rises. The difference is not in what happened, but in how they chose to react. Some people let adversity break them, while others use it as fuel to grow stronger. The choice is always ours. Focusing on what we can control also means taking responsibility for our own lives. It is easy to blame others for our pain, to dwell on how unfair things are, or to expect someone else to fix our problems. But no one is coming to save us. The sooner we accept this, the sooner we can start building the life we want. Complaining does not change reality. Wishing things were different does not make them so. Action does. Controlling what we can means taking charge of our own development. Instead of trying to fix or change others, we should work on improving ourselves. Strengthening our minds, mastering our emotions, and refining our character are all within our power. We cannot force someone to stay, but we can become someone who remains strong no matter who leaves. We cannot control whether life is fair, but we can control how we respond to its challenges. The greatest victories in life do not come from controlling others, but from mastering ourselves. When we learn to let go of what is outside our power and focus on what is within it, we gain a sense of freedom that few ever experience. We stop being reactive and start being intentional. We stop wasting energy on things we cannot change and start investing in what truly matters: our own growth, our own happiness, and our own peace. No matter what happens, you always have a choice. You can fight reality, exhaust yourself trying to control the uncontrollable, and let external events dictate your emotions. Or you can turn inward, master yourself, and become the kind of person who remains steady in the face of uncertainty. The choice is yours, and it is the only choice that truly matters. Emotions are powerful. They can lift us to incredible heights or drag us down into deep despair. When we experience loss, rejection, or disappointment, the emotional impact can feel overwhelming, as if it will never end. But no matter how strong an emotion feels in the moment, it is not permanent. Emotions rise and fall like waves in the ocean. They come, they intensify, and eventually they fade. This is the nature of emotions. They are fleeting, temporary, and constantly shifting. What feels unbearable today will not feel the same in a week, a month, or a year. In the midst of heartbreak or anger, it is easy to believe that the pain will last forever. The mind gets caught in a loop of overthinking, replaying moments and feeding the intensity of the emotions. But time has a way of softening even the sharpest pain. No matter how devastating something seems now, it will eventually pass. The key is to remember this truth and not allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. Many mistakes are made in moments of high emotion, harsh words spoken in anger, bridges burned in frustration, or self-destructive actions taken in sadness. But when the emotions fade, the consequences remain. Instead of letting emotions control us, we must learn to observe them without being consumed by them. A strong mind understands that emotions are just signals, not absolute truths. They tell us what we feel, but they do not define who we are. Feeling sadness does not mean we are broken. Feeling anger does not mean we must act on it. Feelings are simply experiences passing through us, and if we let them, they will pass without leaving lasting damage. Growth, on the other hand, is permanent. Every challenge, every painful moment, every setback carries within it the opportunity to grow. Unlike emotions, which are temporary, the lessons we gain from our struggles stay with us. Difficult experiences shape us, refine us, and make us stronger. Pain forces us to confront ourselves, to adapt, and to become more resilient. The discomfort we feel today becomes the wisdom we carry tomorrow. Many people resist pain because they fear it, but growth only happens when we allow ourselves to go through the discomfort and come out wiser on the other side. When a muscle is exercised, it experiences strain and micro-teeters before becoming stronger. The same is true for the mind and heart. Pain is the resistance that makes us mentally and emotionally stronger. It teaches us patience, self-control, and the ability to navigate life's challenges with greater wisdom. When faced with emotional turmoil, we have two choices. We can either let the emotions consume us, or we can use them as fuel for growth. Those who allow emotions to dictate their actions often remain stuck in cycles of suffering. They react impulsively, avoid discomfort, and resist change. But those who use their struggles as opportunities for self-improvement emerge wiser and more resilient. They take their pain and turn it into strength. They learn from their experiences rather than letting them define them. The reality is that we cannot avoid pain. Life will bring disappointment, heartbreak, and loss. But we can control how we respond. If we see pain as something to escape, we will always be running from it. But if we see it as an opportunity to grow, we will transform every difficulty into a stepping stone for something greater. The strongest people are not those who have never suffered, but those who have embraced their suffering and turned it into wisdom. One of the greatest signs of growth is emotional stability, the ability to remain calm and composed, regardless of external circumstances. When we understand that emotions are temporary, we stop overreacting to them. We stop making decisions based on momentary feelings. We learn to sit with discomfort, knowing that it will pass, and focus instead on what we can learn from it. The next time emotions feel overwhelming, remember that they are not permanent. No matter how deep the sadness, how intense the anger, or how strong the disappointment, it will fade. But the lessons, the wisdom, and the strength gained from overcoming these emotions will stay. Growth is lasting. It is the only thing that remains when the emotions are gone. And when we choose growth over emotional reaction, we win. Not just in the moment, but for life. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, has something to teach us. Life does not unfold according to our expectations, and people do not always stay in the places we want them to. But instead of resenting what has ended, there is great power in being grateful for what was. Gratitude allows us to shift our focus from loss to appreciation, from bitterness to wisdom. It does not erase the pain, but it reframes the way we perceive it, turning even the most difficult experiences into valuable lessons. It is easy to be grateful for the good times, for the moments of happiness, love, and success, but true growth comes from learning to be grateful even for the experiences that did not go the way we had hoped. The people who leave, the relationships that break, the disappointments we face, these are not just losses, they are opportunities. They shape us, challenge us, and push us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. Every experience contributes to the person we are becoming, and for that, we can be thankful. When someone walks away from our lives, the natural reaction is often pain, anger, or regret. We focus on what we lost, what went wrong, and what could have been. But if we take a step back, we can recognize that their presence, however temporary, was still a gift. They entered our lives for a reason, even if it was not meant to be forever. Maybe they taught us love, patience, or resilience. Maybe they helped us see our worth, or perhaps their absence made us realize what we truly deserve. Even the most painful experiences carry lessons, and those lessons are worth being grateful for. Gratitude does not mean denying pain or pretending that everything is fine. It means acknowledging that even in difficulty there is value. It means shifting the perspective from "why did this happen to me?" to "what did this teach me?" Every relationship, every challenge, and every heartbreak leaves behind something that we can carry forward. Strength, wisdom, or a new sense of direction. When we learn to appreciate the experience rather than resent its ending, we free ourselves from the weight of regret. Holding on to resentment or disappointment only prolongs suffering. It keeps us trapped in the past, reliving the same pain over and over again. Gratitude, however, allows us to let go. When we appreciate the experience for what it was, we no longer feel the need to hold on to bitterness. We can remember the good moments without being consumed by sadness. We can respect the lessons learned without feeling like the time was wasted. Nothing is truly lost if we gain something from it, and we always gain something from it, whether it is insight, strength, or clarity about what we want moving forward. People often come into our lives as mirrors, reflecting parts of ourselves that we need to see. Some show us love, some test our patience, and others challenge us in ways we never expected. Instead of wishing things had gone differently, we can choose to be grateful that they happened at all. Even those who hurt us serve a purpose. They teach us boundaries, self-respect, and the importance of choosing ourselves when necessary. Without these experiences, we would not grow. There is freedom in gratitude. It allows us to move forward with an open heart instead of carrying the weight of resentment. It helps us see that every experience, whether joyful or painful, was a necessary step in our journey. When we focus on what we gained rather than what we lost, we realize that nothing was ever truly taken from us. Instead, we were given exactly what we needed at that moment to evolve into who we are meant to be. Instead of mourning what is gone, we can be thankful that it happened. Instead of resenting what did not last, we can appreciate what it brought us. Gratitude transforms our perception of the past and allows us to embrace the future with wisdom and strength. Every experience is a lesson, every challenge is an opportunity, and every ending is the beginning of something new. Life is full of unexpected changes, and not everything will go as planned. People will leave, circumstances will shift, and moments we once cherished will become memories. It is natural to feel the weight of disappointment when something does not work out, especially when we have invested deeply in it. But the truth is, no matter what happens, the only way to truly win is to move forward. Clinging to the past, resisting change, or dwelling on what could have been only keeps us stuck. Growth, peace, and strength are found in the decision to keep going. When something ends, a relationship, a dream, or a chapter of life, there is often a temptation to look back, analyze, and wonder what went wrong. The mind replays conversations, re-examines decisions, and imagines alternate outcomes. But no amount of overthinking can change what has already happened. The past cannot be undone, and trying to live in it only drains energy that could be used to build something better. Moving forward does not mean forgetting or pretending that something did not matter. It means choosing not to be defined by it. There is power in accepting reality for what it is, rather than resisting it. People sometimes believe that holding on proves strength, that fighting for what was lost will bring it back. But real strength is in the ability to release what no longer serves us. Moving forward does not mean we did not care, nor does it mean we are unaffected. It simply means we respect ourselves enough to keep going. It is not about giving up. It is about choosing ourselves and our future over a past that cannot be changed. Time moves forward, whether we do or not. The world does not stop for heartbreak, disappointment, or regret. Staying in the same place emotionally, while everything else moves on, only deepens the pain. The longer we hold on to what is gone, the more we delay our own healing and progress. Winning in life is not about proving something to others or seeking validation. It is about becoming better, stronger, and wiser because of what we have experienced. Every setback carries the potential for growth, but that growth only happens when we allow ourselves to move beyond what happened. Pain, loss, and setbacks are unavoidable, but suffering is a choice. We suffer when we resist reality, when we refuse to move forward, and when we let the past dictate our present. But the moment we decide to let go, we reclaim our power. Moving forward does not mean the pain disappears instantly, but it does mean we stop letting it control us. Each step away from the past is a step toward something new. A new opportunity, a new perspective, a new beginning. Many people waste years stuck in resentment, wishing things had been different, waiting for apologies that will never come, or hoping that the past will somehow return. But nothing that is meant for us requires us to beg, chase, or dwell in pain. What is truly meant to stay in our lives will naturally align with us, and what is not will fade, no matter how much we fight to keep it. The sooner we accept this, the sooner we can focus on what actually matters, our own growth and happiness. Moving forward means taking responsibility for our own well-being. It means choosing to rise rather than staying in a place of emotional paralysis. It means deciding that our future is more important than reliving the past. This does not mean there will not be moments of sadness, nostalgia, or longing. But emotions are temporary, and they do not have to dictate our actions. Choosing to move forward, even when it is difficult, is a statement of self-respect and resilience. Every experience, even the painful ones, is part of the journey. What was lost does not define us. How we respond to that loss does. The greatest victory is not in holding on to something that no longer exists, but in having the courage to step into what comes next. Moving forward is how we reclaim our power, our peace, and our potential. It is the ultimate way to win, not against someone else, but for ourselves. Moving forward is not just an option. It is the only path to true strength, peace, and fulfillment. Life does not wait, and neither should we. The past has served its purpose, teaching us what we needed to learn, shaping us into who we are today. But our future is still unwritten, and it belongs to those who have the courage to embrace it. Let go of what no longer serves you. Release the weight of regret, resentment, and what-ifs. Walk forward with confidence, knowing that every step away from the past is a step towards something greater. You win not by staying stuck, not by seeking validation, but by choosing yourself, by rising above, and by stepping boldly into the life that awaits you. The best is yet to come. Keep moving forward.